You know, her dad taught a Bible class. For the older youth, college age. I like that class. I like that teacher. He had a way of explaining things. Talked with his hands. He had a charm. And he did like a youth weekend thing for for his Bible class. They had a lake property. And we all went to that property. Played on the lake. Inner tube, knee board. That kind of type stuff. And the activities were fun. They were. I even caught a nice sized catfish out on the dock. But there's one thing that I really remember about that trip. It's really the best lesson that he gave me. We were getting ready to go out on the boat. And he goes, "Hey, Matt, why don't you go help me out in the shed? Get the inner tubes ready." I said, "Okay." And I go out in the shed, watching him pull out some stuff. He pulled out a flat tube. He pulled out an air compressor, one of those hand pumps, and a leaf blower. He said, "Matt, out of all this stuff here, what do you think's gonna blow up that tube the fastest?" I looked. I said, "Well, probably the air compressor." He smiled. He said, "Yeah, I could see why you'd think that." So the thing is, though, about that compressor, it's all pressure. It's a little amount of air with a lot of pressure. He said, "Really, the right tool for the job would be this leaf blower." And I said, "Yeah, but the nozzle ain't gonna fit." He goes, "Yeah, that's why I got this." And he pulled out this little contraption he had made to go over the nozzle of it to fit in the tube. And he said, "The trick is, sometimes you don't need all that pressure." He said, "Sometimes you just need more volume." And he turned that thing on. And I'll be darned, that tube blew up real quick. We were out on the boat in no time. It was a shame to see him in the white gloves later. It's a small world, guys. One orchestrated and made by the Most High. He's got a funny way of conducting things sometimes. Years later. Years later. I find myself pulling up to a job. I told you I used to do termite inspection. I'd crawl under houses. And I'd look at the structural foundation, whether it was a crawl space, slab. Inspected. Looking for bugs. I pulled up to this one house. And I just get this weird feeling. I was like, there's something familiar about this house. And I look at the paper, the slip, and then I recognize the name. And I said, oh. I don't know how they got the house. Maybe they bought it from her dad or inherited or something. I'm not sure, but it was his daughter's house. And I was there to inspect it for the real estate transaction. I worked with a top-notch home inspector back then. Dude had an eye. He showed me a lot of cool tricks. Small world, guys. Small world.